Hi, this is Chuck. Welcome to our video question of the week. This week's question comes in from Brad in Indiana, and he writes, "You talk a lot about system contractors being weak at project management. How can we tell if we aren't good at project management compared to others?" Well, Brad, that's a great question, I think, because you don't know what you don't know, I guess. And I have always put out there a quick little test. So I refer to it as my Red Bull, duct tape, and brute force test. So what I look at is those type of behaviors versus a strategic and systematic plan at project management. So here's a couple quick questions back to you as far as an integrator, how to tell if you're good at project management. One is, do you feel like you order equipment way too early or way too late for every project? Does it seem like you have a plan in place, or does it seem haphazard and very reactive? So that's question number one. Question number two is, do you have a lot of inconsistencies on your labor usage versus labor estimates on projects? So do you come in way high and way low on certain projects, or do you have a tradition of really nailing your labor? And that's a big key, and that's something that great project management companies do really well, is to nail that labor estimate. Do you feel like you have good coordination and communications with other departments within your company, like the salespeople, design, estimating, and working with operations and the field crew? Do they communicate well, and do they coordinate the projects well? If you feel yes, you're generally a good project management company. If you feel like you don't have that, typically you're not. So that's a good one to use as a gauge. The other thing is O&Ms. Do you turn in your operations and maintenance manuals and your submittals and your documentation? Does everything on a project come in a timely fashion, or do you always find like that's holding up the final payment and stuff? And if you feel like you do have a systematic approach on that, it's probably an indication you're a good project management company. If it's holding up jobs, if you're always racing around at the very end to get your documentation turned in to get paid, then probably not so much. Another big one is overutilization or underutilization of resources. In other words, do you find that you're paying a lot of overtime on each project, or do you find that when you look at your billings that you're underutilizing your staff? You have less than 70% utilization on your field team. That's a good indication if you're doing things right or wrong on that. The other thing would be, and the final thing for me, is your work in progress and progress billings. Is, do you do a good job when you close out every month, is making sure that your work in progress is well documented, and have you turn in your progress billings if the job will allow in a timely fashion. So if you do just those 6 things, use that as a test, you can probably tell really quick if you're a good project management company. Companies that use that Red Bull and brute force kind of thing, they wouldn't respond very well to those questions. So if you do have concerns, we certainly recommend you benchmark against other companies that do this, and then certainly take advantage of NSCA's project management courses. So thanks for the great question.